Hey guys, it's Sam here from Song 101, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to write a hook. We're going to try and be as objective and as definitive as possible so you know exactly what to do to make your songs more or less hooky. And I'm going to give you an example at the end so you can see me writing a hook, you can see it in practice and you know exactly what to do. Hope you enjoy the video today. Let's go. Okay, before we begin, I just want to say if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. We try and teach songwriting here. I don't believe that it's something you're just born with. It's not a talent or a gift. It's a skill that you can develop, and today we are trying to develop our hook writing skills. Okay, so first we need to define what is a hook. Well, a hook in songwriting is a part of a song that invites the listener in. It literally sort of grabs them by the ear, not by the mouth like a fish, but it invites them in to the song to get to know the story, to get to know the characters. If you don't have a hook, you don't have any hooks, then you're not inviting your listeners in and they won't really care what's going on. On the other hand, if you have nothing but hooks, then you won't have that depth of the story, of the characters or anything like that. So it's a balancing act. You need some hooks in order to invite them to the depth of the song. Okay, now nearly always, and I mean nearly always, hooks are melodies. They're not drum parts, they're not lyrics, they're not chord sequences, anything like that. It's melody, it's just simple melody. Okay, so what makes a melody hooky? Well, there's two things that make a melody hooky. The first one is it needs to be memorable, and the second one is it needs to be easy to sing. Now for me, they're really vague answers, and I want to know what makes a melody easy to sing, what makes it memorable. So we're going to dive into that. There's 4 things we can do. Okay, let's start with how to make melodies memorable. And for a second, I want us to just forget about the music. I want us to think of real world examples. Try and remember these two numbers, the number 7 and the number 642,731. Which one's easier to remember? It's obviously number 7. And why? Because it's shorter. Now the same is true for songwriting. If you have a really long melody, it's very hard to remember. If you have a very short melody, it's easy to remember. So that's the first thing we can do, is keep our hooks short so they're easy to remember. Okay, the second thing we can do then, and again, let's forget about music for a second, let's think of real world examples. If you're trying to memorize something in real life, for instance, think back to when you memorized your times tables. Hopefully you did memorize your times tables. You probably did something like 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8. And you repeated it in this sort of mantra kind of fashion. The same is true for hooks. You want to repeat them so your listener has chance to remember them. If you don't repeat it, you're not giving them that opportunity and you're not inviting them into the song. Again, on the flip side, if you repeat it too much, then there's going to be a lack of depth to the song. So you need to repeat it enough so that they remember it, but also not so much that they get bored of it and sick of it. So that's number 2, use repetition. Okay, let's talk about how to make it easy to sing then. Now what you can do to make it really easy to sing is just get rid of any lyrics. Lyrics are just another thing that the listener is going to have to remember. And if you strip it of any lyrics, they don't have to remember them. So that makes it easier. What you can put in its place are nonsense words like yeah, whoa, hey. There are so many songs which just use woes and heys and stuff like that. And they're incredibly hooky because the listener doesn't have to think about lyrics. If you are going to use lyrics in your hooks, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but keep them simple. Use 1-syllable words. Don't try and use big words which no one's heard of. That alienates the listener. Use simple words that everyone can latch onto very easily. So that's number 3, use simple lyrics or nonsense words. Okay, in terms of melody then, there is one scale that we can use which is just so much easier to sing than all of the other scales. You know, you might have heard of the major scale, the natural minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, the chromatic scale, all of that stuff. For the average punter, for the guy who's not trained in singing, it's hard to sing them scales because the notes are very close together. Now, there's a scale called the pentatonic scale, you might have heard of, the pentatonic major, pentatonic minor. It only has 5 notes and they're a bit more spaced out, and it means it's easier for the listener to hear the difference between the notes. It's easier for them to sing, and that is going to invite them in because people do like singing generally. Now, if you don't believe me that this scale is the easiest to sing, I recommend you go and watch this video by a guy called Bobby McFerrin. I'll link to it in the description below. He demonstrates perfectly just how easy to sing this scale is, so I recommend you go and watch that after this video. Now, I'm not going to go into the theory of how to form this scale, but just in case you are new to songwriting and you don't know much theory, you're going to want to know which notes are in that scale. So let's pick C pentatonic major. C pentatonic major. That's the easiest key to work with. The notes you've got are C, D, E, G and A. 5 notes, pentatonic, easy peasy. If you play piano, find them notes. If you play guitar, find them notes. If you're a singer, it's a little bit trickier. I'll try and learn to sing the pentatonic scale. There'll be videos on YouTube, go and check them out. The pentatonic scale is your friend, so please get familiar with it. Okay, so far it kind of sounds like we just need to keep our melodies like stupidly simple in order to write hooks. And it's kind of true. You want to dumb it right down first, keep it really, really, really simple, and then expand to make it a bit more interesting, a bit more unique, so that the listener is involved. They don't just think, wow, this is incredibly boring. There needs to be something different. So as I said, we're going to do an example. I'm going to grab my guitar and we're going to just build this up from something very, very, very simple. So I've got my guitar. Let's start with the rhythm. Let's keep it really, really, really simple. I'm going to pick one note. I'm going to pick this note. It's G. It's in the C pentatonic major scale. I'm going to play 3 notes, just quarter notes, stupidly simple. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. Very boring, very simple. The first thing I do is play with the rhythm. So I'm going to push and pull some notes so they're out of their place, and that will cause it to be a bit more interesting for the listener. So let's 2, 3, 4. Let's go for that. Straight away, a bit more interesting. Okay, let's alter the pitch next. So instead of just one note, I'm gonna change one note to a different one within the scale, within the C pentatonic major scale. So let's go for. Again, still really simple, but there's a bit of variation there now that's a little bit more interesting. I'd like to vary that even more. I'd like to change it on, say, the 2nd repetition and the 4th repetition. So it's kind of like using that as my foundation, but then just changing it enough so it's interesting on each repetition. So first one would be, second one, kind of hearing it going down. Yeah. That's the second one. Third one, I'll go back to the first one. And then the 4th one, I think we should introduce a new note. Yeah. So, here's our progression. We've got the first one, second one, third, and the 4th one. Okay, so as you can see, we've got one fundamental rhythm, which is that ba, 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 ba. And we're just altering some of the pitches in order to make it more interesting. Okay, it doesn't sound like that compelling on its own. Let's add some chords. I'll sing it and just get rid of any lyrics, so it's just woes and hays or whatever. Let's see how this sounds. So, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh. There we go. Okay. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh. Didn't go down. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh. Cool. That's kind of working. It's all right. I'm kind of hearing harmony, which I think I prefer. So instead of starting on that G note, where is it? Whoa. I think, yeah, if we start on the root C. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's try this. Same thing. All I've done here is just take the whole melody up a few notes, I think. I'm going to mess around and improvise a little bit. So, whoa, oh, oh. No, that's the original. The harmony, whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Yeah, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, 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 oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, 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 whoa, whoa. I prefer that. I changed the last one, I think. Changed the fourth one a little bit. But hopefully you can see now that you can, once you've got that bare bones, you can start to develop it and just do your own thing with it and improvise a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's given you some insight on just how easy it is to go from something really simple to something really hooky within a matter of minutes. And that's what's great about writing hooks, is that it doesn't take long at all. It's really fun, it's really simple, and if you get to the end of it and you think it's shit, you just start again and you've only wasted 5 minutes. So this should be a really, really fun part of the songwriting. You're not spending ages over it like you probably would your lyrics. You're just getting it out there and you come up with loads of ideas and pick the one you think is the best. Okay, let's recap. The 4 things we can do to make our hooks a little bit more hookier. First one is to keep them really short. The second one is to repeat them, and they go hand in hand. If it's short, it's easy to repeat. The third one is to use nonsense lyrics or very simple lyrics so that the listener doesn't have to think too much about what the words are. The fourth one is to use the pentatonic scale primarily. And then when it comes to actually writing the hook, what I would do is start with the rhythm, keep it super simple, and just start pushing and pulling some of the notes to make it a bit more interesting. Once you're happy with the rhythm, then introduce the pentatonic scale, start varying the pitch, again just one little change at a time. The aim here is to take something that was incredibly simple and make it a little bit more interesting, but still very easy to remember, very easy to sing, because that's what a hook is. And that's it. Hopefully that has helped you with your hook writing. If you do find yourself getting stuck with songwriting in general, you're coming across something called writer's block, you can download my free guide to beating writer's block in the description below. I will leave a link. In the meantime, if you could give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, that would be wicked. Let me know what you want me to cover next, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.